Here's an interesting thought. Politicians are the only people in the world who create problems and then campaign against them.
Have you ever wondered why, if the Democrats and the Republicans are against deficits, we have deficits? Have you ever wondered why, if all the politicians are against inflation and high taxes, we have inflation and high taxes?
You and I don't propose a federal budget. The president does.
You and I don't have the constitutional authority to vote on appropriations. The House of Representatives does. You and I don't write the tax code. Congress does. You and I don't set fiscal policy. Congress does. And you and I don't control monetary policy. The Federal Reserve Bank does.
100 senators, 435 congressmen, 1 president, and 9 Supreme Court justices. 545 human beings out of 300 million are directly, legally, morally, and individually responsible for the domestic problems that plague this country.
We excluded the members of the Federal Reserve Board because that problem was created by the Congress. In 1913, Congress delegated its constitutional duty to provide a sound currency to a federally chartered but private central bank.
We also excluded all the special interests and lobbyists for a sound reason. They have no legal authority. They have no ability to coerce a senator or a congressman or a president to do one cotton-picking thing. I don't care if they offer them $1 million in cash. The politicians have the power to accept or reject it.
No matter what the lobbyist promises, it's the legislation's responsibility to determine how they vote.
Those 545 human beings spend much of their energy convincing you and I that what they did is not their fault. They all cooperate in the song and dance regardless of party.
The president can only propose a budget. He cannot force Congress to accept it. The Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, gives sole responsibility to the House of Representatives for originating appropriations and taxes.
The House, not the president, can approve any budget they want. If the president vetoes it, they can pass it over his veto.
Above all, don't let them con you into thinking that the economy or inflation or the budget prevents them from doing what they took an oath to do.
Those 545 people and they alone are responsible. And they alone have the power. They and they alone should be held accountable by the people who happen to be their bosses. Remember that.
Now, this was written back in 1983 by Charlie Reese. This was his final column for the Orlando Sentinel.
The scary thing was, this was written in response to a government that also got out of control with their spending to the tune of $1.4 trillion. The people were extremely upset about the out of control spending.
The reason why that is so scary is that generation fought back and demanded better spending, and they were only $1.4 trillion in debt.
30 years later, we are now in debt $16.9 trillion. That's 12 times the amount back in 1983.
This may have been written back in 1983, but I think it rings even truer now than it did back then.
We need to simply demand better.